How could one last conversation at the airport turn into a disaster I never saw coming? What was I supposed to do when the divorce papers showed up before I even landed? Was it really so wrong to choose excitement over a marriage that felt dead? The kitchen clock ticked past midnight as I slipped through the front door, my heels clicking softly against the hardwood floor. Miles sat at the dining table, laptop open, spreadsheets glowing on the screen. Always working, always so predictable. "You're late again," he said without looking up, his voice flat and tired. I dropped my purse on the counter with more force than necessary. The Henderson campaign needed last-minute revisions. You know how demanding clients can be. Right, the Henderson campaign. Miles finally looked at me, his brown eyes searching my face. "Funny thing is, I called your office around 9. Janet said you left at 6. My heart skipped, but I kept my expression neutral. "Janet doesn't know everything. I was working from the cafe downtown, better Wi-Fi." "Since when do you work at cafes?" "Since my husband started interrogating me like I'm some criminal." I brushed past him toward the stairs. "I'm doing this for us, Miles. For our family. Someone has to bring in the real money around here." The words hit their mark. Miles flinched, his jaw tightening. He made decent money as an accountant, but my marketing salary had always been higher. I'd learned to weaponize that fact whenever he got too curious. "Mommy?" Lila's small voice drifted from the top of the stairs. Our 7-year-old daughter stood there in her princess pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Why are you and Daddy talking so loud?" "We're not fighting, sweetheart," I said, forcing a smile. "Daddy was just asking about my work. Go back to bed." Miles stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "I'll tuck her in." As he climbed the stairs with Lila, I heard him whisper, "Everything's okay, princess. Mommy's just tired from work." Always the good cop, always making me look like the villain. I grabbed a glass of wine and retreated to the living room, scrolling through my phone. 3 missed texts from Dustin made my pulse quicken. "Missed you tonight. That husband of yours keeping you on a leash. Can't stop thinking about this afternoon. When are you going to tell him?" The last message made my stomach flutter with anxiety and excitement. Dustin Morrow had been my college boyfriend, the one who got away. When he'd reached out 6 months ago, newly divorced and working for a competing marketing firm, it felt like fate. He was everything Miles wasn't: spontaneous, passionate, dangerous. "Working late again?" Helen's voice made me jump. My mother-in-law stood in the doorway, her silver hair perfectly styled despite the late hour. She'd been staying with us for the past week, helping with Lila while Miles worked on a big audit. "Just catching up on emails," I said, quickly closing my phone. Helen's sharp blue eyes missed nothing. "Must be very important emails to keep you out until midnight." "The marketing world doesn't stop at 5 o'clock, Helen." "No, I suppose it doesn't." She moved into the kitchen, filling a glass with water. "You know, Miles mentioned you've been working a lot of late nights recently. Business is good. I thought you'd be happy about that." "I'm happy when my son is happy." Helen's voice carried a warning. "And lately, he doesn't seem happy at all." Before I could respond, Miles came back downstairs. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. "Lila's asking for you to read her a story," he said to me. "I'm exhausted, Miles. Can you handle it tonight?" I already read her 2 stories. She specifically asked for Mommy. Guilt twisted in my chest, but I was too tired to deal with a 7-year-old's bedtime routine. "Tell her I'll read extra stories tomorrow night." Miles stared at me for a long moment. "Sure, I'll tell her that." As he headed back upstairs, Helen shook her head. "That little girl adores you, Heroica. Don't take that for granted." "I don't need parenting advice from you, Helen." "No, you need it from someone. Because whatever you're doing, it's tearing this family apart." After Helen went to bed, I sat alone in the living room, wine in hand, staring at Dustin's messages. My phone buzzed with a new text. "Meet me tomorrow. I have something to ask you." My heart raced as I typed back, "Where?" "Our usual place, 2 p.m. I deleted the conversation thread and headed upstairs. Miles was already in bed, his back turned to me. The distance between us felt like an ocean. "Miles," I whispered. No response, but I could tell from his breathing that he wasn't asleep. I changed into my nightgown and slipped under the covers, maintaining the careful space that had grown between us over the past months. The silence was deafening. In the darkness, I heard Miles shift. "Heroica? Yeah? Are we okay?" The question hung in the air like a loaded gun. I could have said yes. I could have reached for him, tried to bridge the gap I'd created. Instead, I chose the easier path. "We're fine, Miles. Just stressed about work." "Right, work." But as I lay there listening to his breathing eventually slow into sleep, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted tonight. Miles had never questioned me so directly before, never pushed back against my explanations. I pulled out my phone one more time, careful not to wake him. Dustin had sent another message. "I love you, Heroica. It's time to stop pretending." My finger hovered over the keyboard. In the next room, I could hear Lila talking to her stuffed animals, probably unable to sleep because of the tension downstairs. "I love you too," I typed back. "Tomorrow we'll figure everything out." As I hit send, Miles stirred beside me. For a terrifying moment, I thought he might be awake, might have seen the message, but he just rolled over, his face peaceful in sleep. I closed my phone and stared at the ceiling, my heart pounding. Tomorrow would change everything. I could feel it. What I didn't know was that Miles had already seen enough to start asking the right questions. And when Miles started investigating something, he was thorough. The phone bill sitting in his home office drawer told a very different story than the one I'd been spinning. And tomorrow, while I was meeting Dustin at our usual place, Miles would be making some calls of his own. The next morning felt different. Miles was already gone when I woke up, which was unusual. He typically waited to have coffee with me before heading to his office. A note on the kitchen counter explained, "Early client meeting. Pick up Lila at 3:30 a.m. Helen was feeding Lila breakfast, both of them chatting about some cartoon. The domestic scene should have been comforting, but it felt suffocating. "Daddy left really early," Lila said, not looking up from her cereal. "He's working hard for us, sweetie." "Are you working hard today too, Mummy?" The innocent question stung. "Yes, baby. Mommy has some very important meetings." At the office, I couldn't concentrate. Every time my phone buzzed, I expected it to be Miles with more questions. Instead, it was Dustin, sending sweet messages that made my pulse race. "Can't wait to see you. I have a surprise." My coworker Janet knocked on my office door around noon. "Hey, someone called looking for you yesterday." "Your husband?" My blood went cold. "What did he want?" "Just asked what time you left. I told him around 6, like usual." "Was that wrong?" "No, that's fine. Thanks, Janet." But it wasn't fine. Miles was checking up on me, and I'd been caught in a lie. I needed to be more careful. The cafe where Dustin and I met was across town, far from Miles's office and our usual haunts. It was a cozy place with dim lighting and secluded booths, perfect for secret conversations. Dustin was already there when I arrived, looking devastatingly handsome in his navy suit. His dark hair was slightly messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. When he saw me, his face lit up with that crooked smile that had captured my heart in college. "There's my beautiful girl," he said, standing to kiss me. The kiss lingered longer than it should have in public, but I didn't care. "You said you had a surprise." He pulled out an envelope, his eyes sparkling with excitement. 2 tickets to San Francisco. This weekend. There's a marketing conference, but we both know that's not why we'd be going. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Dustin, I can't just disappear for a weekend. I have Lila, and Miles would ask questions. Tell him it's a work trip. Tell him the agency is sending you. You're good at creative explanations." The way he said it made me uncomfortable, but the thought of 3 days alone with him in San Francisco was intoxicating. "I'll figure something out," I heard myself saying. That's my girl. He reached across the table, taking my hand. Heroica, I need to ask you something serious. Before he could continue, I saw a familiar figure through the cafe window. Helen was walking past with her shopping bags, and for a heart-stopping moment, our eyes met through the glass. I yanked my hand away from Dustin's. Shit. What's wrong? My mother-in-law just saw us. Helen had stopped walking and was staring directly at us. Even through the window, I could see the shock and disappointment on her face. Then she shook her head and walked away. This is bad, I muttered, grabbing my purse. Hey, calm down. So what if she saw us? We're just having coffee. You don't understand. Helen's like a bloodhound. She'll tell Miles. Maybe it's time Miles knew the truth. I stared at Dustin. Are you crazy? I need time to figure this out. I have a daughter to think about. And what about what you want? What about your happiness? He was right, of course. I deserve to be happy. I deserve passion and excitement, not the mundane routine my marriage had become. I have to go, I said, standing abruptly. Heroica, wait. What about San Francisco? I'll call you tonight. The drive home was a blur of panic and planning. I needed to get to Helen before she could poison Miles against me. I needed to control the narrative. Helen was in the kitchen when I arrived, her face a mask of cold disappointment. We need to talk, she said. Helen, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why you were holding hands with another man in a cafe across town? It's not what it looked like. Dustin is a colleague. We were discussing a potential collaboration between our agencies. Don't insult my intelligence, Heroica. I've been married for 40 years. I know what an affair looks like. The word hung between us like a slap. You don't know what you're talking about. I know my son has been miserable for months. I know you've been coming home later and later. I know you've been lying about where you've been. Helen's voice was steady but furious. What I don't know is how you can look at yourself in the mirror. My marriage is none of your business, Helen. It is when it affects my granddaughter. Lila knows something's wrong. Children always know. Nothing is wrong with Lila. She's fine. She drew a picture at school yesterday. Want to see it? Helen pulled a folded paper from her purse. It was a child's drawing of a family, a man, a woman, and a little girl. But the woman was far away from the man and child, and there were dark scribbles around all the figures. The teacher asked her about it. Lila said the family was sad because Mommy and Daddy don't like each other anymore. The drawing hit me like a physical blow. That doesn't mean anything. Kids draw weird things all the time. Stop lying, Heroica. Stop lying to me, to Miles, to yourself, and especially to that little girl upstairs. I'm not lying about anything. Then look me in the eye and tell me you're not having an affair. I opened my mouth, but the words wouldn't come. Helen nodded grimly. That's what I thought. You have until tonight to tell Miles the truth, or I will. You can't do that. It's not your place. Watch me. Just then we heard Miles's key in the front door. Helen and I stared at each other, the tension crackling between us. I'm home, Miles called out. In here, Helen replied, her eyes never leaving mine. Miles walked into the kitchen looking tired. Hey, how was everyone's day? The question was innocent enough, but I felt trapped. Helen was watching me like a hawk, waiting to see if I'd confess. Fine, I said quickly. Just the usual work stuff. Actually, Helen began, and my heart stopped. I ran some errands downtown today, saw some interesting sights. Miles looked between us, sensing the tension. Everything okay? Your mother is upset about something trivial, I said, forcing a laugh. You know how she gets. Trivial? Helen's voice was dangerously quiet. Helen, I warned. Miles, I think you should know. Know what? Miles looked confused and tired. Can we not do this right now? I've had a hell of a day. Helen studied her son's face, then glanced at me. We'll talk later. After Miles went upstairs to change, Helen cornered me again. You have one chance to make this right, Heroica. Tell him tonight or I will tomorrow. And destroy this family? Is that what you want? You already destroyed this family. I'm just trying to give my son a chance to salvage his dignity. That night at dinner, the atmosphere was suffocating. Lila chattered about school, but both Miles and Helen were unusually quiet. I pushed food around my plate, my appetite gone. "Mummy, are you sick?" Lila asked. "Just tired, sweetheart." "You're always tired lately," Miles observed. "Work has been crazy. You know that." "Right, work." Miles set down his fork. "Actually, I've been meaning to ask you about something." My heart nearly stopped. "What?" "There was a charge on our credit card, a hotel downtown, last Tuesday night. Do you know anything about that?" The room went dead silent. Helen was staring at me intently. Lila was looking back and forth between her parents, sensing the tension. I had a client meeting that ran very late. It was easier to get a room than drive home exhausted. You didn't mention staying at a hotel. I didn't want you to worry. The charge shows 2 key cards. My mouth went dry. That's just how hotels work. They always give you 2 keys. Miles nodded slowly, but his eyes were cold. Of course. That makes sense. But I could tell he didn't believe me, and from the look on Helen's face, my time was running out. After dinner, my phone buzzed with a text from Dustin. "So? San Francisco?" I looked around the kitchen, at Miles loading the dishwasher with mechanical precision, at Helen reading to Lila, at the normal family life I was about to blow up. "Yes," I typed back. "Book the tickets." The next few days passed in a haze of lies and careful planning. I told Miles that the agency was sending me to a conference in San Francisco over the weekend. He barely reacted, just nodded, and said he'd take care of Lila. His lack of reaction should have been a relief, but instead it felt ominous. The Miles I knew would have asked questions. Which conference? Which hotel? Why such short notice? This new version of my husband just accepted my explanation with a quiet "okay" that made my skin crawl. Friday afternoon arrived faster than I expected. I'd packed a small suitcase and hidden it in my car, planning to pick it up on the way to the airport. Dustin and I were meeting at the terminal. He'd insisted it was more romantic that way. But first, I had to get through Lila's school play. The elementary school auditorium was packed with parents, grandparents, and siblings. Lila was playing a flower in the spring pageant, and she'd been excited about it for weeks. As much as I wanted to skip it and head straight to the airport, missing my daughter's performance would have raised too many red flags. Miles saved me a seat in the 3rd row. Helen sat on his other side, her disapproval radiating like heat. She'd kept her word about not telling Miles, but her cold shoulder made it clear that her patience was wearing thin. "There's our little flower," Miles said softly as the curtain rose. His face lit up when he spotted Lila on stage, and for a moment he looked like the man I'd married, warm, loving, present. The guilt hit me like a wave. In a few hours, I'd be on a plane with another man, and Miles would be home alone, putting our daughter to bed and believing his wife was at a work conference. My phone buzzed. "Dustin, can't wait to see you. Flight leaves at 8:30. I glanced at Miles, but he was focused entirely on Lila. She was beaming on stage, waving at us from her spot among the other flowers. When she saw me looking, she blew me a kiss. The performance ended with thunderous applause from the proud parents. Lila ran up to us afterward, still in her flower costume. "Did you see me, Mommy? Did you see me dancing?" "You were perfect, sweetheart." I hugged her tight, breathing in her little girl scent of strawberry shampoo and craft glue. "Are you really going away tonight?" she asked, her small arms still wrapped around my neck. "Just for the weekend? For work? I wish you didn't have to work so much." The words were like a knife to my heart. "I know, baby, but it's important." Miles lifted Lila onto his shoulders. "Come on, flower girl. Let's go celebrate with ice cream." We went to Lila's favorite ice cream shop, a family tradition after school events. The place was crowded with other families from the play, and I found myself scanning the room, paranoid that someone might see through my facade. "Heroica," a voice called out. Sarah Chen, another school mom, approached our table with her husband and twin boys. "Great performance tonight, right?" "Absolutely. Lila was amazing." "I heard you're going to that big marketing conference in San Francisco this weekend. Lucky you." My blood turned to ice. I hadn't mentioned San Francisco to anyone except Miles. "How did you—" "Oh, Dustin Morrow told my husband about it at the gym yesterday. Said you two were both going. Small world, right? I didn't even know you knew each other." The silence at our table was deafening. Miles had gone very still, his spoon halfway to his mouth. Helen was staring at me with undisguised shock. "You know Dustin Morrow?" Miles asked quietly. We work in the same industry. Sometimes we collaborate on projects." "Funny, you never mentioned him before." Sarah, oblivious to the tension she'd created, kept chattering. "He seems like such a nice guy. Recently divorced, right? He mentioned he was looking forward to spending the weekend with a beautiful colleague." She laughed. "I told him to be careful. Workplace romances can be complicated." I wanted to disappear into the floor. Miles was staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not anger, not hurt, but something colder. Calculating. "We should get going," he said, standing abruptly. "Lila needs to get to bed." The drive home was silent except for Lila's chatter from the back seat. She was still high on the excitement of the play, oblivious to the tension crackling between her parents. At home, Miles carried our sleeping daughter upstairs while I sat in the kitchen, my hands shaking. Helen appeared in the doorway. "Well," she said quietly, "I guess the truth has a way of coming out. It's not what it sounds like. Isn't it? A recently divorced man looking forward to spending the weekend with a beautiful colleague. What exactly should it sound like?" Miles came back downstairs, his face a mask of calm control. "So, Dustin Morrow." "Miles, I can explain." "Can you? Because I'm really curious how you're going to explain this." He pulled out his phone and showed me the screen. It was our phone bill, with calls to Dustin's number highlighted in yellow. Dozens of calls, some lasting over an hour, going back months. "You've been investigating me. I've been trying to understand why my wife has been lying to me for months." His voice was eerily calm. "The late nights, the mysterious work trips, the hotel charges. I kept giving you the benefit of the doubt, but then I saw this." He swiped to another screen, our credit card statement. The hotel charge was highlighted, along with several restaurant charges I didn't remember making. 2 dinners at Romano's. That's interesting since I was home with Lila both those nights, and you said you were working late at the office. I felt like a deer caught in headlights. "Miles, are you sleeping with him?" The question hung in the air like a bomb. Helen was watching us from the doorway. Upstairs, I could hear Lila talking to her stuffed animals. "Answer me, Heroica. Are you having an affair?" I opened my mouth, but no words came out. The silence stretched on until it became an answer in itself. Miles nodded slowly. "I see. It's complicated." "No, it's really not." He walked to the counter and picked up a folder I hadn't noticed before. "I've been doing some research on Mr. Morrow. Did you know his ex-wife filed a restraining order against him last year? Something about harassment and stalking after she found out about his affairs." "That's not true. It's public record, Heroica, just like your hotel visits will be when my lawyer subpoenas the records." "Your lawyer? Did you really think I was going to just let this slide? You're planning to spend the weekend with your lover, using money from our joint account, while I stay home with our daughter." The word lover sounded obscene coming from Miles's mouth. "You're being dramatic." "Am I? You've been lying to me for months. You're emotionally abandoning our daughter. You're stealing from our family to fund your affair. What part of that is dramatic?" "I'm not stealing anything. That's my money too." "Not anymore, it isn't." Before I could ask what he meant, my phone rang. Dustin's name appeared on the screen. "Answer it," Miles said. "What?" "Answer the phone. Put it on speaker." "Miles, No. He reached for the phone, but I grabbed it first. Hello? Hey, beautiful, where are you? Our flight board's in 30 minutes. I could feel Miles and Helen staring at me. I can't make it. What do you mean you can't make it? We've been planning this for weeks. Something came up, a family emergency. Heroica, what's going on? You sound weird. Miles held out his hand for the phone. When I hesitated, he spoke loud enough for Dustin to hear. This is Miles Vane, Heroica's husband. I think you and I need to have a conversation. The line went dead. Miles looked at me with something that might have been pity. Pack a bag, Heroica. What? You want to go to San Francisco so badly? Go, but don't come back to this house tonight. You can't kick me out. This is my home too. Actually, I can. I've already spoken to a lawyer. You'll be served with papers tomorrow. The room started spinning. Served with papers? Divorce papers, custody papers, restraining order papers. A restraining order? Miles, you're being insane. The restraining order isn't for you, it's for your boyfriend. He's not welcome near this house or our daughter. Helen stepped forward. I'll drive you to a hotel. I'm not going anywhere. Lila needs me. Lila needs stability, Miles said quietly. She needs parents who put her first. You've made it clear that's not you. Upstairs, a small voice called out, Mommy, Daddy, why are you yelling? The sound of our daughter's frightened voice cut through everything. Miles immediately headed for the stairs. It's okay, Princess. Daddy's coming. As his footsteps disappeared upstairs, I stood alone in the kitchen with Helen, my world crashing down around me. This is all your fault, I said to her. Helen shook her head sadly. No, dear. This is all yours. I spent that night at a hotel downtown, the same one where Dustin and I had met several times. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd called him repeatedly, but he wasn't answering. Apparently, hearing from my husband had scared him off. By morning, I'd convinced myself that Miles was just angry and would calm down. He was a reasonable man. We could work this out, go to counseling, figure out how to fix our marriage. The divorce threat was just his way of getting my attention. I was wrong. I arrived home Saturday morning to find the locks had been changed. My key didn't work. When I rang the doorbell, Helen answered. He's not here, she said through the screen door. Where is he? Where's Lila? Somewhere you can't find them. The lawyer advised against any contact until the papers are served. Helen, please, I need to see my daughter. You should have thought about that before you decided your affair was more important than your family. The front door closed in my face. I sat in my car outside the house for 2 hours, hoping Miles would come back. Neighbors walked by, some staring curiously at the woman crying in the driveway. The humiliation was overwhelming. Finally, my phone rang. Miles, stop sitting outside the house. You're scaring the neighbors. Where are you? That's not your concern anymore. She's my daughter too, Miles. You can't keep her from me. I'm not keeping her from you. I'm protecting her from the chaos you've created. I want to see her. There was a long pause. Meet me at the airport. Terminal B, Gate 15, 1 hour. The airport? Why? Just be there, Heroica. The line went dead. I drove to the airport in a daze, my mind racing with possibilities. Maybe Miles was taking Lila somewhere for the weekend. Maybe he just wanted to talk in a neutral location. Maybe this was his way of giving us space to work things out. The airport was crowded with weekend travelers. I found Gate 15 and spotted Miles immediately. He was sitting in the waiting area, a folder on his lap, looking calmer than I'd seen him in months. There was no sign of Lila. Where is she? I asked, sitting down beside him. Safe, with my sister in Portland. You took her out of state without telling me. I took my daughter somewhere she won't have to witness her mother's breakdown. The coldness in his voice was like a slap. Miles, we need to talk about this rationally. We're past rational, Heroica. We've been past rational since you decided to start fucking your ex-boyfriend. I flinched at the profanity. Miles never swore, especially not about intimate things. It's not what you think. Dustin and I, we have history. We understand each other. You have history with me too. 7 years of marriage, a daughter together, a life we built from nothing. A life that was suffocating me. You have no idea what it's like being married to someone who never wants to do anything spontaneous, who questions every decision, who makes me feel like I'm living in a prison. A prison? Miles's voice rose slightly. Is that what providing for you was? Is that what loving you was? Is that what raising our daughter together was? People were starting to stare. I lowered my voice. You don't understand. You've never understood what I need. What you need is drama. What you need is chaos. What you need is to feel like you're the center of attention. Miles opened his folder. What you don't need is a family. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you read Lila a bedtime story? When's the last time you asked her about school? When's the last time you put her needs before your own desires? I couldn't answer because I couldn't remember. I have something for you, Miles said, pulling papers from the folder. My heart sank as I saw the legal letterhead. Miles, don't do this. Divorce papers, custody petition, financial disclosure forms. He handed them to me with steady hands. You'll notice I'm asking for full custody. You can't do that. I'm her mother. You're a woman who shares DNA with my daughter. Being her mother requires actually mothering her. I love Lila. I'm sure you do, but love isn't enough when you're more interested in your affair than your child's well-being. I flipped through the papers, my hands shaking. Joint custody is standard, Miles. No judge is going to give you full custody just because I made a mistake. One mistake. Miles pulled out another set of papers. These are phone records going back 8 months. Hotel receipts, credit card statements, restaurant charges, text message logs that I subpoenaed through my lawyer. My blood turned to ice. You can't subpoena my text messages. I can when they're sent from a phone on our family plan, using data we pay for together. He opened the folder wider, showing me printed screenshots of my conversations with Dustin. Messages I'd thought were private were there in black and white. Intimate details about our encounters, complaints about Miles, plans for our weekend getaways, discussions about leaving my husband. How did you get these? I'm an accountant, Heroica. I'm very good at finding information when I need to. This is invasion of privacy. This is evidence of adultery and abandonment. The judge will be very interested in reading about how you told your lover that you couldn't wait to be free of your boring husband and his boring life. I remembered writing those words in a moment of frustration, never imagining anyone else would see them. You're trying to destroy me. I'm trying to protect my daughter from a mother who cares more about her own pleasure than her child's stability. Our daughter. She's our daughter. No, Heroica, she's my daughter. You signed away the right to call her yours when you chose Dustin Morrow over your family. The announcement system crackled overhead. Flight 447 to San Francisco, now boarding at Gate 12. Miles glanced at the departure board. Isn't that interesting? There really was a flight to San Francisco today. The same flight you were supposed to take with your boyfriend. How did you... I know everything, Heroica. I know about the conference that doesn't exist. I know about the hotel reservations you made. I know about the lies you told our daughter about why Mommy had to go away. He stood up, closing his folder. You have 2 choices. You can sign these papers and agree to supervised visitation with Lila, or you can fight me in court and lose everything. You're bluffing. Am I? I have 8 months of evidence showing that you've been emotionally and financially unfaithful. I have testimony from Helen about your behavior. I have documentation of your lies and manipulation. His voice was steady, professional. What do you have? I stared at him, this man I'd been married to for 7 years, and realized I didn't know him at all. The quiet, predictable accountant had vanished, replaced by someone methodical and ruthless. You planned this, I whispered. I prepared for this. There's a difference. How long have you known? I suspected for months. I've known for certain for 2 weeks. 2 weeks? You've known for 2 weeks and didn't say anything. I was gathering evidence, making sure I had everything I needed to protect Lila from the fallout of your choices. The betrayal I felt was overwhelming. You let me think I was getting away with it. You were never getting away with anything, Heroica. You were just digging your grave deeper every day. Miles started walking toward the exit. You have 48 hours to decide. Sign the papers or face me in court. Either way, this marriage is over. Miles, wait! He turned back, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of the man I'd married. For what it's worth, I really did love you. I would have done anything to make you happy, but you were determined to be miserable, and I won't let you make Lila miserable too. Please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. There's nothing left to fix. You killed this marriage the first time you lied to me about where you were going. As he walked away, I called after him. What am I supposed to do now? He paused without turning around. I don't know, Heroica, but for the first time in months, that's not my problem to solve. I sat alone in the airport terminal, surrounded by travelers heading to exciting destinations, holding divorce papers and watching my life fall apart. My phone buzzed, a text from Dustin. Where are you? I'm at the gate. I stared at the message for a long time before typing back, go without me. But as I watched Miles disappear into the crowd, I realized that my choices had already taken me somewhere I never intended to go, completely alone. The hotel room felt like a prison cell. I'd been there for 3 days, surviving on room service and wine from the minibar, trying to work up the courage to call a lawyer. Every attorney I'd contacted wanted a retainer fee that would drain what little money I had access to. That was when I discovered Miles's first strategic move. I'm sorry, ma'am, but your card has been declined, the hotel clerk said when I tried to extend my stay. That's impossible. Try it again. She ran the card twice more. I'm afraid it's not going through. Do you have another form of payment? I tried my other credit card, then my debit card. All declined. Back in my room, I called the bank, my hands shaking as I navigated the automated system. Mrs. Vane, I see the issue, the customer service representative said. Your joint accounts have been frozen pending legal proceedings. You'll need to contact your attorney. Frozen? He can't freeze our accounts. According to our records, a court order was filed yesterday requesting the freeze to prevent asset dissipation during divorce proceedings. Asset dissipation. Miles had actually convinced a judge that I was trying to steal marital property. I hung up and immediately called my sister Trina. Jesus, Heroica, I've been trying to reach you for days, she said. Miles called looking for you. What did you tell him? Nothing, because I didn't know where you were. What the hell is going on? He said something about divorce papers. I broke down and told her everything. The affair, the airport confrontation, the frozen accounts. Trina listened in stunned silence. You're having an affair? She finally said. Heroica, what were you thinking? I was thinking that I deserved to be happy. I was thinking that life is short and I didn't want to waste it being bored. So you cheated on your husband and abandoned your daughter. I didn't abandon anyone. Miles is the one who changed the locks. Miles is the one who took Lila out of state. Miles is the one protecting his child from her mother's midlife crisis. The words stung because they rang true. Whose side are you on? I'm on Lila's side. That little girl called me crying yesterday, asking why Mommy doesn't want to live with her anymore. My heart shattered. She called you. Miles let her call to say goodbye before they left for Portland. She's confused and scared, Heroica. She thinks she did something wrong. I need to see her. Then you need to fix this mess you've created. After hanging up with Trina, I tried calling Dustin again. This time he answered. Heroica, where have you been? I waited at the airport for 2 hours. My husband found out about us. There was a long pause. Found out how? He's been investigating. He has phone records, hotel receipts, everything. Shit, this is bad. It gets worse. He's filing for divorce and full custody of Lila. Another pause, longer this time. Full custody? Can he do that? Apparently he can. Dustin, I need your help. I need you to testify that our relationship was emotional, not physical. I need you to say we never... Whoa, hold on. You want me to lie in court? I want you to help me keep my daughter. Heroica, I can't get involved in a custody battle. I just got out of my own divorce. My ex-wife is already trying to modify our custody agreement. If she finds out about this... The implication hit me like a cold wave. You're abandoning me. I'm protecting myself. And honestly, maybe you should think about what's best for your daughter instead of what's best for you. What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe a little girl is better off with the parent who actually puts her first. The line went dead. I stared at my phone in disbelief. The man I'd risked everything for had just thrown me away like garbage the moment things got complicated. A knock at the hotel room door interrupted my spiral into despair. I opened it to find a young man in a cheap suit holding an envelope. Heroica Vane? Yes? You've been served. He handed me the envelope and walked away. Inside were the official divorce papers, along with a temporary restraining order that prohibited me from going within 500 feet of my own home, my daughter's school, or Miles's workplace. There was also a notice of emergency custody hearing scheduled for the following week. But the most devastating document was a detailed timeline of my affair, complete with dates, times, and locations. Miles had been more thorough than I'd imagined possible. He had evidence of every lie I'd told, every secret meeting, every dollar I'd spent on my relationship with Dustin. At the bottom of the timeline was a note in Miles's precise handwriting. This is what abandonment looks like. My phone rang. Helen's number appeared on the screen. Hello, Helen. I have a message from Lila. My heart leaped. Is she okay? Can I talk to her? She's as okay as a 7-year-old can be when her mother chooses a man over her family. Helen, please. She wanted me to ask you something. She wanted to know if you're ever coming home. Tears streamed down my face. What did you tell her? I told her that sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt the people who love them most. I told her that her daddy would always take care of her no matter what. I want to take care of her too. Then you should have thought about that before you decided your happiness was more important than hers. Can I at least talk to her, just for a minute? There was a long pause. She doesn't want to talk to you right now, Heroica. She's angry and confused, and frankly, I don't think hearing from you would help. She's my daughter. Then act like her mother. The line went dead. I spent the rest of the day trying to find a lawyer who would take my case without a large retainer. Most of them took one look at Miles's evidence and politely declined to represent me. The few who were willing to help painted a grim picture. Mrs. Vane, I have to be honest with you, said the fourth attorney I consulted. Your husband has built an extremely strong case. The documented affair, the financial irregularities, the pattern of deception. It's going to be very difficult to argue for joint custody. What about supervised visitation? That's possible, but even that will depend on your willingness to take responsibility for your actions and demonstrate that you're committed to putting your daughter's needs first. Of course I'm committed to that. Are you? Because according to these documents, you told your lover that you couldn't wait to be free of the responsibilities of motherhood. I cringed. Another text message I'd forgotten about, sent in a moment of frustration when Lila had interrupted one of my phone calls with Dustin. That was taken out of context. Context won't matter to a family court judge, Mrs. Vane. What will matter is a pattern of behavior that suggests you prioritized your affair over your parental responsibilities. That night, alone in my hotel room, with a bottle of wine and a stack of legal documents, I finally understood the full scope of what I'd lost. It wasn't just my marriage. It wasn't just my home or my financial security. I'd lost my daughter's trust. I'd lost my family's respect. I'd lost any claim to being the victim in this situation. And tomorrow, I'd have to face Miles in court and try to explain to a judge why a woman who'd spent months lying to everyone who loved her deserved a second chance. The courthouse smelled of industrial cleaner and broken dreams. I sat clutching character references, watching Miles arrive with his sharp-eyed lawyer. "Miles, can we talk?" His lawyer blocked me. "My client has nothing to discuss outside these proceedings." Inside, Judge Martinez reviewed the evidence with weary sternness. Miles's lawyer presented 8 months of documentation, phone records, credit card statements, devastating text messages read aloud. Helen testified about my absences, my lies, Lila's nightmares, and sad drawings. Miles spoke calmly about my deception and Lila's need for stability. When I testified, I had no answers. I couldn't remember the last bedtime story, school event, or time I'd prioritized Lila's needs. Judge Martinez granted Miles temporary full custody. Supervised visitation every other Saturday, contingent on parenting classes and counseling. The gavel fell like a gunshot on my shattered life.